I can't believe it. An old bin of discs that I had before I went to Australia has officially been recovered. And I want to show you guys some of the gems that I had back in the day for my collection. So let's get set up over here and I'll show you all what I got. So when I opened up and saw what was still in that bin, I was absolutely in shock. It brought so many fun memories of my early days playing disc golf back to me. And I just remember all the old courses I used to play. There's some really fun memories, you know, associated with each and every disc. And these are some of my favorite discs. And I just didn't have enough room to bring them with me all the way to Australia. And I wasn't sure if I'd ever see these discs again. So the fact that I now have my hands back on this bin is super fun and exciting for me. I've got it organized by brand here. We'll start off with, I only have one Discmania disc that was super notable from way back in the day. I've got a brand new, unthrown, Roaming Thunder 1. I really love this disc, not only for the quality of the plastic, but also for the mold. It was just like a slightly domier, slightly less stable Thunderbird. And this is one of the few backups that I had. This swirly S-line plastic from early Discmania, like the Innova made Discmania stuff. This swirly S-line was just so money. And this guy is brand stinking new. Just like nice, domey, like pop top Roaming Thunder 1 with the sticker still on it. This may be one of very few of these that still exist unthrown. And I'm really excited to actually go out and throw it. So this is the only Discmania disc that I have from this collection that I felt like was, you know, worth sharing with you guys. But let's move on to the next brand. We've got Trilogy discs coming up next. This was from 2016 or 2017. This is a, I think it's a Dynamic Discs Convict. And this was the trophy disc when I played the Amateur Match Play Championships. And I remember I barely had played much disc golf in my life up until this point, but I always had a really good forehand. And I was really good with my DGA Quake, my Sexton Firebird, and my Kastaplast Berg. And it just happened to be a really forehand-friendly course. This was a local qualifier in Florida. And I remember, so in match play, it doesn't really matter your overall score. It just matters as, you know, you get points every time you win a hole. And I just kept moving on in the bracket. And I was like, wow, I just can't believe how well I'm doing. And my very last match, I don't remember the guy's name that I was playing against, but this guy had sucked down like 12 Mountain Dews over the course of the day. He was just this really skinny, wiry dude, and he was just sucking down Mountain Dew after Mountain Dew. And we're all square going into hole, I think 17. There's a big pasture on the right, cows, fence, all OB. It's pretty dead heat match. Like my dad was there. We were kind of vibing on our own, and then our competition was definitely a lot more stressed and high strung over it than we were at that time. He grabs his driver and he falls off the tee pad, just absolutely throws the disc 90 degrees to the right, OB. So I just throw my mid-range off the tee. I lay up to the basket. I take a one-stroke lead going into 18. And then the last hole is this little flex forehand. I think I got a par. He also got a par. And I wind up coming away with a win. So this is my second win ever, which my first ever win in the novice division was my first tournament ever as one of the Discraft discs in here. But yeah, this Convict is one that I'll probably throw because it's kind of a fun memory. My little first place trophy disc from, I think that was my second ever like tournament I ever played. The next disc is a pretty OG Dynamic disc. This is the Dynamic Discs Evidence. The Evidence was from a Trilogy challenge that I played all the way in Colorado back when I was living in Denver. And this was one of the first discs that I ever fell in love with. The course that we played, I remember there was like, I think it was a $780 ace pool. And I remember I could just throw this thing on absolute hyzer flip laser beam forehands. I remember dead centering chains 2 times in that event and spitting out both times for almost $1,000 ace pool at a Trilogy challenge. I don't remember what year this was. You guys will have to let me know, you Dynamic fans. When was the Evidence from? Because this Evidence was sick. And it still feels great to this day. It's a little warped, so I need to flatten this back out. But I cannot wait to actually get out and throw this Evidence again. The last Trilogy disc was one of my This actually was my first ace in Atlanta that I ever got. This is an Anchor, which is a super overstable mid-range from Latitude 64. It's got this really cool, lady with the anchor on it. It's like a VIP infinite discs, like signature thing. And I aced on March 29 of 2018 at Frog Rock. One of the earlier holes in the course is this like 280-foot like flexing forehand shot. And I remember just absolutely splashing it in and being so excited. And I really liked this Anchor for a long time. So this is another disc. It kind of feels like a rock, but it's significantly more overstable than a rock. So this was like my first ever overstable mid that I really loved. And I even aced with it. And it was, just a super cool disc. Next, we've got Prodigy. Most of my Prodigy discs that I have were from Atlanta. Atlanta was where Prodigy Discs was operating out of at the time. I don't know what they're doing now. I think most of their stuff's made in China. But Will Schustrick in Tunnel Hill, Georgia, ran a tournament, the Pasture Open. And I remember playing this tournament. I didn't know who Will Schustrick was, but he was giving out these really cool Prodigy F5s for the Players Pack disc. And I remember this was the first disc that I could ever put out on a slight little bit of hyzer on backhand and actually get it to flip up and turn and get that beautiful backhand flight that this is what we all play disc golf for. We all love the hyzer flips, the turnovers, the shot shaping. This is the first disc that I felt like I could really backhand with confidence. And I remember I was like the only person that liked this Players Pack disc. So I wound up trading the discs straight out of my bag, and I wound up having like 4 or 5 of these. I only see one of them in this tub now, so I'm not sure what happened to all the rest of them, but I do have this one. I know my dad has one, and I wrote on it The Cow. This one's brand new, completely unthrown. I think my boy Colin, who was one of my first ever friends in disc golf, he gave me this one from his Players Pack. And yeah, absolutely love the Prodigy F5, so another disc that I can't wait to go out and throw because I love flippy fairway drivers. The last one, I don't know if this is a Prodigy collector's item or not, but this is a factory blank prototype PA4. The PA4, I'm not sure if it's a disc that ever got much traction with Prodigy, but nice and flat. It's a nice and overstable kind of premium throwing putter. This is a 400 or 400S plastic PA4. No stamp, factory blank, which I thought is pretty cool. I remember really liking, this was one of the first putters that I really felt like I could throw well backhand. So, Proto PA4 from Prodigy. Pretty cool. The next brand is Discraft. We've only got 2 discs, but both discs are very special in different ways. This snowman stamped Discraft Flick was from the Lake County Winter Classic in Florida. My dad and I were on vacation, and I believe it's the same vacation I won that match play championship on. I could be getting the dates mixed up. I'd have to go look at the Amateur Match Play Championships website. But January 3rd, 2016, I won the novice division at the Lake County Winter Classic. And what's super funny about this day, there was a player there that you guys may be familiar with by the name of Calvin Heimberg. He also won that day in the Open division. So Calvin and myself were champions on the same day at the Lake County Winter Classic all the way back in 2016, which this disc is very special to me, and it's almost unthrowably overstable, and I remember never liking it. But you can see the profile is very similar to a tilt with this incredibly high parting line. And yeah, I love the stamp. I think the stamp is really fun. It's like a sad melting snowman playing disc golf because it was a tournament in Florida. But Calvin Heimberg was there as well, so that is so cool. The next disc, the last Discraft disc I want to show you guys today is this Discraft Comet. Now, why this disc is special, this was the Players Pack disc for the Springtime Classic at Little Mulberry Park. This was the first time that I ever met Isaac Robinson, Ezra Robinson, and I also met their father, and I was still pretty much brand new to tournament play, brand new to disc golf. I was warming up for the tournament, checking out a couple of the holes, and I just bump into these 2 brothers, didn't really know who they were. Their dad was really good. I think their dad was a lefty, and then we had the 2 young boys that were, talking trash to each other, but having fun, and they were so kind and respectful to me, and I was still pretty much a brand new beginner to the game at this point, I feel like. And Isaac and Ezra Robinson were so nice to me. And then I think Isaac came out and won the tournament. And I remember MVP team captain at the time, I don't know if he still is, Matt Dollar was there. And I remember Matt Dollar giving a little speech saying, like, I can't believe how good these two young guys are. They have such a bright future. And boy, was he right, because now the day that, you know, Matt Dollar says that, now we zoom all the way into now. We've got one-time world champ Isaac Robinson. And I have this fun little disc I should have had him sign it that day, but I met Isaac Robinson that day. And I thought, like, man, this guy is so good. I just remember watching them throw and thinking how much better they were than me at disc golf. And I'm just showing up playing like intermediate or advanced at the time. But I got to meet Isaac Robinson that day, and this disc is always a fun memory of the day I met Isaac Robinson. So very special disc to me. Very, very cool. Next, we've got some more collector's items. I don't think these per se have much sentimental value. But if you're a Kastaplast collector out there, I guarantee you probably haven't ever seen at least one of these three, but maybe you've never even seen any of these three. This is the only one of these I've ever seen. This is a Falk with a bird stamped on it, and then the Let's Kastaplast like hot stamp on it. This is a K1 line Falk that feels like K2 line. I'm 99% sure that this is a K2 Falk with a K1 line stamp. And this is the only one of these bird stamped Falks that I've ever seen. And I remember this was really understable when I first got it. And the more you throw the Falk, the more stable it gets. So this is actually a really stable Falk. And I remember really loving this disc initially. And then as it beat up, it got more stable. And then I eventually just stopped throwing it, and it just went into the bin for eternity. But now we have it, and I'm really excited to throw it again. The next disc, this is a Pine Green Brunna Rico. The Pine Green was a color that Kastaplast did not run a lot of. This Pine Green with the gold stamp, I think, is one of the best looking color combos that Kastaplast has ever made. And this is an old pre-flight number Rico. From all the way back in 2018, I believe. But you don't see these very often. Even if you follow the Kastaplast collector's page, these do not come up often. And when they do, I think they sell for like $80 to $100. Like, these are very rare. You very rarely see them. But there was a point where I really loved the Rico, and it was my main putter. I've got a ton of pre-flight number Ricos in there because I really liked the Rico for a while. And yeah, this is probably my favorite one, just because I think it looks the coolest, but also has that rarity factor to it as well. The last Kastaplast disc is the most stable K1 Berg I've ever thrown. It's a K1 Berg from the 2018 Vic Open. My dad gave me this disc because it was too stable for him, but this is a K1 Berg that flies like the Berg X. You can put it out on so much Anheuser flexing shots. This is the dumpiest, most overstable Berg I've ever thrown. And yeah, I just thought it was pretty cool. It's got the oil slick stamp, just old school. So this is K1. This is also K1. So obviously these are not the same plastic. And I'm 99% sure that this one is K2. All right, now we've got the rest of the discs here, MVP and Axiom. And I don't think any of these have any sentimental value to me, but they're all very, very cool, and I'm excited to throw them for a few different reasons. First disc, we have a Axiom patent pending Tenacity, and you'll see a theme here. Old Axiom discs have tons of dome and tons of pop top, and I wish they could do this to the time lapse. You can hear it's got a nice little bit of pop top to it. Feels very comfortable. It's got a bit lower parting line than you see from a lot of MVP and Axiom discs now. I'm expecting this to be a very nice understable bomber for me right now, but I'm excited to get out and go throw these guys. The next disc is very cool. This is one that I think is going to fly really well for me. I want to say this is my first PDGA membership disc, and to my surprise, it's a 150-gram patent pending Tesla. And the Tesla has become one of Simon's favorite discs. And I think a Tesla in the 150 gram, I might be able to get this to fly similar to how Simon gets his to fly. But absolutely board flat, should be nice and straight, 150 gram Tesla, patent pending. Very cool disc. Now we've got the Tantrum, and look at the dome on this bad boy. I mean, low parting line, insane shoulder, insane dome. Imagine if your time lapse had this much dome, how far they would go. But listen to the sweet sound of glide. That is what glide sounds like. And this Tantrum is the glidiest Axiom driver I've ever seen. This is almost as domey as my UFO Super Dome Destroyer. Like, look how absurd this thing is. Now we've got another fairly domey, a little pop-toppy, but not as pop-toppy. This is a patent-pending Relativity, 14.5 speed, maybe even a 15 speed distance driver from MVP. Insanely wide rim. I remember being able to get this to hyzer flip backhand way back in the day. So I think I'm going to be able to absolutely obliterate and bomb this disc super far. But all these super domey MVP and Axiom drivers that I have from when they used to actually make domey discs, I'm super excited to go out and throw them, especially in comparison to the new time-lapse, because I think they could make so much dome back then. Why can't they make so much dome now? I just don't understand. Now, the last disc is one that I think is very underrated from MVP. This is the MVP Particle. And the Particle is a little bit more stable than the Envy, but less stable than the Pyro. And I think a player like Simon, I think a player like James Conrad, this is that perfect sort of, those shots Simon used to throw with the Discmania P2, where he would hang them up super high on a ton of Annie and they would just go forever. I think that's what the Particle does. And I remember really liking the Particle. It still feels really good in my hand. My taste hasn't changed that much, but it's a really cool, like, Christmas stamp one from MVP. So pretty cool MVP Particle. And yeah, this is another disc that I'm really excited to go out and throw more. But anyway, I've got a whole bin full of absolute gems that are just old discs from back in the day that I still think are really good discs. But those are some of the ones that I was the most excited to show you guys. And I never thought I'd see a lot of these discs again. And I just have so many fond memories of all these discs from back when I first started playing. You know, whether it be the day I met Isaac Robinson, the day I won, you know, got my first ever tournament win in the novice division, the day I was playing amateur match play championships, my dad was caddying for me. I just remember having so much fun. And then we still to this day talk about that guy just throwing his whole body off the tee pad. So we still joke about that guy drinking all those Mountain Dews and throwing his whole body off the tee pad. We joke about that to this day. Just all these discs have so many fond memories, and disc golf has been such an interesting journey for me. And no matter, I've moved so many times in my adult life, but I've always brought disc golf with me. And seeing all these old discs from my old disc golf journeys definitely brings back some really fun and fond memories. But then there's also some really sweet collector discs in here. Like, I think these I can guarantee you I can go online and sell this Roaming Thunder for at least $100 right now. So the fact that I've got some cool old vintage discs that have, you know, monetary value, that's very cool. But then also just the memories that come along with everything is very cool as well. Anyway, let me know if you guys want to see more discs out of the collection. There's a ton more really cool gems in here, and it's basically a fun story that goes with every disc, because these are the discs that I had when I, you know, really first got into it. But anyway, you guys are watching Iceberg TV. I'll see you guys in the next video, and take care.